Good morning. This is Deb Helfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. I'm also the founder of hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy. Dr. Shin Cunningham, I am a 1991 graduate of Carnegie Mellon with a BA in philosophy. I spent 2 decades as a software consultant, and then the past decade as a hermit. I moved into an apartment in the Seattle area that had mold behind the walls, and my life was altered. I've lost the past decade of my life to severe brain and nerve system dysfunction. This is on top of being an extraordinarily highly sensitive person, physiologically. Also, somebody who was morbidly obese since infancy because of those sensitivities. What I represent today, May 7th, I think, 2021, is a human who is the next Phineas Gage. Now, I don't obviously have a metal rod in my brain, but I used the metal rods of tuning forks to figure out how to understand the dysfunction I was experiencing and to try and reverse all of the complete and utter dialing down of the communications between my brain, nervous system, and body. I have videos from just around 2 years ago where you can tell I could barely walk or talk. And I weighed 333 pounds. As I use the tuning forks to learn about frequency, to learn about the hertz of brain waves, and started to learn to entrain myself into away from, it's as if my beta brainwaves are the ones that I lived a logical life. I was a software consultant. I was a philosopher. Those were the ones that got altered by the mold. And what I've done, like a stroke victim, is figured out how to rewire into my hypotheses, gamma brainwaves, into a much higher frequency of brainwave state. 40 and above is per the current beliefs. And I'm living a creative life. I ended up destitute because of the brain dysfunction of a decade. And then the pandemic hit just as I'd started to reverse the real chronic dysfunction that basically, beyond being just a hermit, what I did in my hermitage is hibernate. Now, again, the science of the pineal gland, the science of DMT, the science of trance, flow, altered states of consciousness. Letting my body do what it needed to do to stay alive makes me an exquisite research chimpanzee. A very willing one, and one who, as a philosopher, believes that everything that I've done and the way that I've been able to logically take all of the science available on the internet, I'm pretty sure I've sorted the hard problem of consciousness differently. As I said, I've driven 3/4 of the way across the continent to Pittsburgh. Maybe I said that in my test video. And I'm in relatively urgent need of a supporter at Carnegie Mellon. I've reached out to 7 professors in the philosophy department and also to someone in the voice and drama department, because I believe my second act career as a stand-up philosopher, Socratic monologues, who gets to talk about midlife metamorphosis and what the full holistic theory of my hypothesis of bioelectricity, which unites body, mind, and soul in very practical ways. I've evaporated 150 pounds in the 15 months after turning 50. And I'm now able to be out in the world in a way that I hadn't been for over a decade. I'm still quite sensitive. I believe in many ways what we're missing is that humans respond to the environment constantly, whether we're conscious of it or not. And this is the part of my body brain organism that all of the activity of the Barnes and Noble has now sent me in a state where I've lost not just my train of thought. What I've lost is the feeling of safety in the world. And not in a way that we think about fear, but just in the way that all of the alarm bells going throughout my nervous system about not being too loud, being responsible for not interfering with other people, hearing things and wanting to know what they mean and whether I'm in jeopardy. It's all very interesting. The other part of this that may be a tangent, but may not be, is I suffered from pretty chronic childhood neglect, very unintentional. So there was nothing traumatizing that happened. But I wasn't touched for the first 17 years of my life until I graduated high school in 3 years and got accepted early decision to Carnegie Mellon. I lived a life of extraordinary privilege, of making my own way time and time again. And then the mold took it all away. And I'm at rock bottom. So I'd love to get a job at Carnegie Mellon, especially with the Neuroscience Institute. I believe I can both participate in research, contribute to research, and also across campus as a philosopher who's developed #wellbeing philosophy. I believe I have a unifying theory of human energy, potential, and well-being. This is back to the body, mind, soul triad, is trying to pull together a theory that's holistic enough to encompass everything. The interesting thing is, as robust as this is, in 2021 with the pandemic and with the way social media and our smartphones have dialed down human attention, nobody seems to have the ability to listen long enough for me to tie all these creative threads together, because I'm thinking in a matrixed way. I really am using a different component of my brain. I don't think it's the terrain necessarily, although I'm very, very eager to get my brain under some electrodes and see what we can discover. I think it is actually the amplitude. I think it is that I'm either compromised in the beta brainwaves, trying to use my executive functioning, trying to participate in the world. I'm trying to create a way to do this really rare thing, which is talk about consciousness as a philosopher. Return to Carnegie Mellon and do some writing and research, which is Socratic dialogue, really, about phenomenology, the philosophy of consciousness. So I want to meld both the theoretical. I think I personally am a world-class theoretician, but as a world-class theoretician, I'm incredible at hypotheses. And not just within this arena, but, civilization is failing. We've built an inhumane civilization where, because we don't understand consciousness correctly, we treat humans like widgets. And so that's where I'm also interested in, where Carnegie Mellon is really the only place I know, of course, the only place I've graduated from and feel a sense of belonging. Because I want to become a midlife performer ultimately. Not an academician, although I do want to have a thumbs up. I want to talk about these theories extensively and deeply and write on them and get some peer feedback. But in essence, I've saved my own life by rewiring my own brain using freely available data, articles, whatever on the internet. And what I'm discovering is that most humans are having both their intention and their intelligence dialed down by the current generation of tech. Another reason why Carnegie Mellon is a great place for me to be. To really become the Socrates of the 2020s. But first, I need to finish reversing the mold dysfunction. I need to finish allowing my body to become the size it was designed to be. And I need a couple years of returning to campus, of belonging again, after a decade of being alone in the world and isolated. I'm ready to participate, contribute, and I think bring a great deal of attention and money to the research capacities of Carnegie Mellon. So, at your earliest convenience, I would love to talk to you to solve my problem of living in my car. Get somebody at the university to say, yep, let's figure out how to get her back in the fold, whether that's as a researcher or a staff member. I would love to be an adjunct professor of some sort in the philosophy department. I don't have phenomenology. It's kind of funny. This is again the things that I seeing everything differently now, from understanding consciousness differently, and from seeing that all we need to do is really think of that humans are not widgets. We can't keep making systems of academics, learning, government, economics that treat humans like widgets. Who has ever done the study that proves that humans can work for 40 hours a week from 18 or 21 until now retirement is 70, but that's physiologically not contributing in and of itself to the ever-escalating burden of chronic disease and mental illness. When it comes to mental illness, I believe, and again, from all of my experiential and theoretical integrative hypotheses, that we really need to call it environmental illness. My sort of situation as a highly sensitive person truly means that I see what and experience and feel the toxic effects of our modern society, the unintended consequences of all of the industrialization, the pollution, the toxicity. That's what got to me. The mold is from some research I've done. Basically, they altered the formula to drywall in the 80s, in the Pacific Northwest especially, thinking they were creating a better moisture barrier, but it turns out the mold just said, this is yummy, this is a buffet. So there's a lot of unseen environmental, again, the all of these devices that we have. There's the real truth of the smaller the screen, the smaller the size of what you see, the smaller the intelligence you access in your brain. I find, and I'm pretty sure I'm finding it in other people. And let me sum it up. So we hit 15 minutes here. I have an extraordinary mind that operates at the bleeding edge of neuroscience, theories of consciousness, complementary healing. And I think especially with your focus on auditory stuff, that I use tuning forks. I think we'll have a lot of fun and do some world-evolving work. My name is Deb Helfrich. I'm a 1991 graduate of HSS, now Dietrich College. with a B in philosophy. My phone number is 360-969-5826, or you can reach me at redheadedsshehulk@gmail.com. If you're familiar with the 1970s Incredible Hulk Bill Bixby series, directed by Carnegie Mellon alumni, by the way, I'm in the phase of dialing up academics on a payphone to try and unhulk myself. But then I can do a YouTube live because it's 2021. So I love the technology when it suits us, but we also have to think about technology in a humane way. Thank you so much for your attention. Look forward to talking to you.